Go ahead. I have to wrap up in a second here, but go ahead.
Thank you, Jen. You put out a list of all of the military
Yeah.
equipment included in that $800 million
Yeah.
that's being provided to Ukraine. Among those items, let me read them to you: 100 grenade launchers, 5,000 rifles, 1,000 pistols, 400 machine guns, and 400 shotguns. Are you saying those items are not offensive weapons?
They're weapons that help the Ukrainian people fight against an invasion by a foreign
They
country.
can be used offensively, can they not?
Again, they're weapons. What I'm talking about is weapons that can be used to fight.
The answer is yes. I mean, although you don't want to say it, that answer to that question is yes. And so obviously you're trying to make this distinction between offensive.
Well, what we're
and
talking about,
defensive
let me finish,
weapons.
let me finish.
Well, let
Let me
because I'm
finish,
making my
let me
point.
finish my
You made-
answer.
No, you weren't, no, I was finishing a point, and then you can respond to my
Okay,
answer.
go ahead.
All right, you're making this distinction between offensive and defensive weapons. Anybody that looks at that list of weapons that I just mentioned, they would say, clearly they're offensive. If a Ukrainian military officer or someone who is enlisted has one of these weapons, they can take out a Russian military official of some sort with these weapons. They're offensive in nature, so why not provide more offensive weapons like this to the Ukrainian military?
Well, first of all, we are providing a range of rifles, etc. There is a difference between a plane and planes and massive military systems. I think anybody would recognize this. And what we're talking about, which is giving rifles and pistols to many of them farmers and people living in countrysides to defend themselves. I think there's a difference that most people recognize. Thank you, everyone, so much. Have a nice day. Sure. Go ahead, Jackie.
Thank you, Jen. Just one more, and a lot of people have asked about the MiGs, but can you lay out for us why the administration sees MiGs as provocative and javelins and stingers as not provocative?
Well, first, javelins and stingers are defensive weapons. MiGs or planes are offensive weapons, which are a different type of military system. I would say the other assessment that we've done, not through here, not through the White House, not through the President, from the Department of Defense, is to assess what is effective and what works in terms of fighting this war on the ground. And that is why we provided an additional $1 billion, $800 million announced today, but $1 billion this week of assistance, utilizing a number of the high-level military systems, stingers, javelins, counter-artillery, counter-mortar radar, anti-armor systems that we know have been effective and we know the Ukrainians are trained on. Third, Ukraine's Air Force already has several squadrons of mission-capable aircraft, and giving them more would not significantly change their effectiveness. And finally, I touched on this in the beginning, offensive versus defensive, but we also do risk assessments from the Department of Defense about what would be escalatory, and that is obviously what we would like to avoid.
John Kirby has said that success for the U.S. mission in Ukraine is a free, independent, sovereign Ukraine. We've also heard that the official mission is to prevent escalation beyond Ukraine. Which is it?
Both are true.
If we're not specific about what exactly the desired outcome is, how do we expect to be able to?
Why could both not be true? A sovereign Ukraine and preventing them from expanding beyond.
Okay. And then moving on to the nuclear deal. General McKenzie told the Armed Services Committee that from everything that he can see, the IRGC is a terrorist organization. Is the White House willing to delist the IRGC from the foreign terrorist organization list in order to get a deal with Iran?
We're still in the negotiations, so I'm not going to speculate or outline from here what the final details look like.
And these are likely the group responsible for firing missiles at U.S. facilities in Iraq. So as long as Americans aren't killed, are there no consequences for something like that, all in an effort to get a nuclear deal?
Again, you're speculating on something that is not even finalized. The deal is not finalized. What I would note, and I would just go back to why we're negotiating this deal, and right now we're negotiating this deal because Iran's nuclear gains are threatening U.S. interests. There's urgency to taking steps to contain that, which is why we've been engaged so closely. And that is all the result of President Trump pulling out of the deal and Iran moving closer to having the capacity and acquiring a nuclear weapon and speeding up their breakout time. So we are here thanks to the actions of the last president and the last administration. And And it is in our interest, it is in the global interest to prevent Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon.